Naging mainit nga na usapin ng kontrobersyang ito sa mundo ng social media at pati na rin sa buong bansa. Ngunit bago ang lahat ay kung hindi ka pa nakapag-subscribe sa ating channel na ito ay mag-subscribe ka na upang lagi kang maging updated sa ating mga bagong videos na ina-upload araw-araw. At pindutin na rin ang notification bell at syempre piliin na rin ang all upang maging aware ka kung mayroon tayong bagong video na nai-upload. At sa ating mga matatagal ng supporters or mga viewers ay maraming salamat po sa inyong walang sawang pagsuporta sa ating channel. Huwag din pong kakalimutang mag-iwan ng like sa ating mga videos at syempre i-share na rin ito upang ang ibang tao rin na iyong kakilala ay maging aware din sa kung anong nangyayari sa ating bansa. At kung mayroon ka naman pong hinaing o di kaya opinyon, bukas po ang ating mga comment section para sa inyong mga komento. Muli po, maraming salamat po and God bless. Tayo na po ay panoorin ang buong video.
We have Representative Raul Manuel to start with.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning sa ating mga fellow representatives, pati rin po sa Office of the Ombudsman. Mr. Chair, gusto ko munang bigyan ng context yung aking tanong. Mr. Chair, may mga rights defenders, lawyers, alternative media, civic leaders, at maging isang think tank na nag-file ng administrative and criminal cases with the Office of the Ombudsman against several ex-officio members of the NTF-ELCAC. First to file their complaint noong February 2020 ay accused si Major General Parlade Jr., former PCOO Yusek Badoy, and former National Security Advisor Esperon for violating Republic Act 6770 for committing unreasonable, unfair, oppressive, or discriminatory acts. Also, Mr. Chair, on June 2020, Major General Parlade was also filed with a case because of violating the anti-graft law and the administrative code. Meron pa, Mr. Chair, December 2020, lawyers naman po nag-file din ng administrative complaint against Mr. Parlade, Ms. Badoy, and Mr. Esperon. Also, 2 days after, from human rights groups, nag-file din po ng criminal and administrative case against Mr. Esperon, Mr. Parlade, Ms. Badoy, and then PCOO ASEC Mocha Yuson for violating Republic Act 9851 in relation to the principle of distinction under international humanitarian law. Also, Mr. Chair, December 2020, pa rin, administrative complaint against former NICA Director General Monteagudo, former Defense Secretary Lorenzana, and former Interior Secretary Anyo for violating the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees. Also, Mr. Chair, still December 2020, alternative media nag-file din ng complaint against Mr. Parlade, Ms. Badoy, and former NTF-ELCAC Executive Director Allen Capuyan. Ang basis naman po ay Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, pati din yung Code of Conduct. In summary, Mr. Chair, 6 administrative complaints from various organizations and 2 criminal complaints pending before the Office of the Ombudsman. May we ask, Mr. Chair, ano na po ang status ng 6 na administrative complaints and 2 criminal cases? Since ang last po doon sa ating na-enumerate ay na-file pa noong December 2020.
Honorable Chair, Your Honors, yung tanong po ay sa dami ng kasong yon, hindi ko alam kung anong status. But if the Honorable Congressman is referring to those cases against Parlade, Badoy, et al. Esperon, with respect to the red tagging, those cases were already dismissed. Sa kadahilanan po na wala naman pong batas na nagbabawal sa red tagging. In the absence of a law, we cannot arrogate unto ourselves by saying na nag-violate ka ng red tagging. Red tagging po pinag-uusapan, but I am not really sure if this is the one that is being referred to by the Honorable Congressman Manuel. So, I will appreciate kung bibigyan po ninyo kami ng listahan, and I will inform you the status of those cases.
Mr. Chair, bahagi po ng complaint against these individuals ay yung ginawa nga nilang red tagging. Tayo din naman, Mr. Chair, we filed a bill actually na gusto natin ay ma-criminalize ang red tagging and maprotektahan lahat ng mga defenders natin, lahat ng mga merong advocacy at dapat ay safe sila, hindi sila nasasubject sa mga discriminatory na mga acts. In the absence of that law at this moment, Mr. Chair, kaya ang na-cite natin ay yung ibang mga batas na actually ay pwedeng maging basis para mapanagot ang mga individual na ito. Mr. Chair, since hindi pa nakatanggap ng official communication ang mga nag-file ng mga complaints against these people, may we request the Office of the Ombudsman to furnish our office, pati din yung mga nag-file mismo, na mabigyan po sila ng written na kopya ng dismissal para po on record ay mapanghawakan po natin iyon. Can the office commit to that, Mr. Chair?
If Your Honor could please give us a copy of those cases, we assure you that we will furnish you the status of those cases. The earliest would be this afternoon. Pero sinisiguro ko po sa inyo na kung mga kasong yun ay na-dismiss na, I am sure na yung mga complainant ay nabigyan na ng kopya. Ngayon, doon sa puntos na dahil nga walang red tagging, pa-file mo ng kaso ng violation ng Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, para lang po yun yung nagpalusot tayo Diba? Ito yung tinatawag na yung palusot Kung sa sibuyas, ito yung palusot na pagtatanim ng sibuyas o ani. Just like in the violation of the dangerous drugs law, marami po nagpa-file sa amin ng Section 3E. Ang pinakapunot dulo po ay drugs. So wala ho kami jurisdiction doon. So ginagamit, may mga pagkakataon po, ginagamit ang ombudsman. Sana wag naman po ganun. Dahil hindi naman po ang ombudsman karakarakan mag-action sa inyong mga kaso na wala naman talagang kinalalaman. Sa kadahilanan lang, magpa-file kayo ng kaso dahil ang respondent ay isang sikat na tao, mataas ang posisyon sa gobyerno. Binibigyan din po namin ng pansin yung mga kaso na pinafile ng mga mahihirap. Binibigyan po namin ng pansin yung mga kaso na karapat-dapat bigyan. Pero kung papalusutan kami na red tagging ang rason, pero sasabihin hindi, nag-violate ka ng Section 3E. Because Section 3 says undue injury to the government or the individual. Yan ang cause ng undue injury na yon. Kung red tagging, wala akong binayulate na batas. Yun lang po. I would appreciate if the Honorable Congressman Manuel could give us a list of those cases and we will immediately. I'll call the office now and give us a status of those cases. And I assure you, before the end of the day, you'll have a copy of the status of those cases.
Mr. Chair, gusto lang po nating mag-respond doon sa remark na nagpapalusot lang po yung mga nagpa-file ng mga administrative and criminal complaints. Mr. Chair, para po sa enlightenment ng ating mga kapwa civil servants and public officials, Mr. Chair, yung retagging po, hindi lang po yan basta salita at hindi po naghahanap lang ng kung ano-anong dahilan para magkaso. Mr. Chair, meron na po talagang nangyaring mga masamang bagay dahil sa red tagging. Meron po, nakaka-affect po ito ng pag-perform ng ating mga public officials at kahit yung mga civil society organizations natin, Mr. Chair, nahamper po yung pag-perform nila ng duty nila to pursue whatever advocacy that they have in line with our laws. Tapos, Mr. Chair, meron na ring mga na-red tag na napatay na nga, no? Dahil sa ganong threat, no, na nagiging epekto sa kanila dahil sa pagre-red tag coming mismo mula sa mga government officials. So, Mr. Chair, ang dating kasi kung kinukonsente natin ito sa pamahalaan, edi short of saying na we are enabling red tagging, no? Kaya habang syempre mainam na meron na rin talagang batas eventually on red tagging, sa ngayon, Mr. Chair, kita naman natin damage has been done, no? At nakakalungkot isipin na yung mga buhay na nawala because of red tagging, yung mga hindi na makapagpatuloy, no, whether in government man or hindi, mahihirapan na sa kanilang mga gusto sanang gawin, no, hindi na, mahirap na pong ibalik yun, Mr. Chair. Kaya sana mas maging proactive tayo when it comes to this matter. And sana po hindi din po napagbabangga, no, na may mga kaso daw na para sa mga mahirap, ganyan. Yung mga rights defenders po natin, yung mga people's lawyers natin, yun din po ay merong mga ginagawa para sa mga mahirap. In fact, no, yung pag-defend nila sa mga magsasaka, sa mga mangingisda, sa mga manggagawa, part din po yan ng gusto nating sama-samang pagtulong sa mga mahihirap. So, sana po hindi pinagbabangga, hindi pinagko-compete yung mga kaso. Kasi kung lahat naman po, Mr. Chair, agrabyado, lahat po ay dapat nating tulungan at dapat ay may hustisya po para sa kanila. Yun na muna, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat.
Alright, maraming salamat po, Representative Manuel. Now we go to the majority. Representative Gerbil Luistro, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning to our distinguished colleagues. And of course, to our guests from the Ombudsman, most especially to Ombudsman Martires, and to my kababayan from Mabini, Batangas, our Special Prosecutor Edilberto Sandoval. Mr. Chair, my first question is on the increase in budget. From 2023, the proposed budget is 5.5% higher. That is 263.1 million. Can you explain which programs were augmented, reason which yielded an increased budget by 263.1 million, Mr. Chair? At least, Mr. Chair, can we identify the programs which were augmented that yielded this increase by 263.1 million compared to the budget for the current year, Mr. Chair?
Thank you for the question, ma'am. The totality of the increase of the agency's budget comprises of both directional swings in each item allocation. So some major items could have increased, some other items could have decreased. So we don't have the specific information as to what led to the net effect as of the moment, but I will gladly provide you with that particular information within the day, ma'am. But I would like to stress again the salient features of the budget. We did have additional funding requirements for personal services requirements. So a bulk of that, to my estimation, madam, would go to the increased personal services requirements for the Office of the Ombudsman for fiscal year 2024. And then again, we would be needing additional equipments in the form of additional motor vehicles, additional office equipments, and additional communication, medical, and other properties. For these three items, motor vehicles, office equipments, and communication, medical, and other property, that would translate to roughly 120 million pesos already. Again, we would also be needing funds for the rehabilitation of the main office building amounting to 50 million pesos and additional provision for ICT requirements for 217 million. Again, unfortunately, as explained earlier, the net effect would have to be determined more specifically in a separate statement of such balances, ma'am. But we do have funding requirements for these items which I mentioned. Thank you po.
Mr. Chair, the Office of the Ombudsman mentioned PS, personal service, as one of the reasons for the increase in its budget from the current year. It appears, however, from the report that from 2020 to 2024, 47% of all posts were unfilled. So can you please enlighten us how we are introducing an increase in the personal service when there remains 47% of our plantilla which are still unfilled? That is from 2020 to 2024, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for the question, Congressman Luistro. Your Honor, yung mga unfilled positions mula na since yung office ay talagang sinasadyang hindi namin mafilapan dahil pinag-aralan ko pa mula noon ano yung nagiging cause ng inordinate delay. Which is a problem, been a problem, a recurring problem. So bago ako mag-hire ng additional lawyers, pinag-aralan ko muna saan ang problema. So this year, I have decided to merge two important groups, the fact-finding investigation group and the preliminary investigation group. We will be hiring additional lawyers. We will be creating satellite offices in each of the provinces throughout the Philippines. We will be hiring additional lawyers for each of the sectoral offices para po ang magre-represent sa ombudsman sa mga cases before the regional trial courts or the municipal trial courts will no longer be the Department of Justice but the lawyers of the Office of the Ombudsman. So this year, I promise you na once naayos ko yung plantilla namin, which is already in the making and before the end of the year, matatapos na, sisiguruhin ko po sa inyo na there will be additional lawyers in the Office of the Ombudsman. Investigation of cases will be speed up. Pabilisan po namin investigasyon ng mga kaso. And I have proven that na madali lang naman pala. Pwede pala kami mag-imbestiga ng cases nang walang isang taon tapos kami sa investigasyon. So with this, pagpasensyaan lang po ninyo, yung mga unfilled positions ay sinisiguro ko po sa inyo, mapifill up na po yan. But if there are unfilled positions tungkol sa mga administrative personnel, maaaring alisin ko na po yon. Kasi hindi po kailangan ng ombudsman yung mga non-lawyers. Mas kailangan po ng Office of the Ombudsman mga abogado. At mas kailangan po ng Office of the Ombudsman yung IT. Problema po namin sa Office of the Ombudsman ay yung aming IT. Itong taon po nito, na-discover namin na nahack yung aming system. Yung mga may kaso pala sa amin, kaya pala alam nila kung nasaan ang kanilang mga kaso, kasi 3 tao pala ang nakatingin sa aming firewall. So, because of that, 2 of our personnel from the Management Information System are on preventive suspension because of this. Hindi ho biro na alam po ng respondent na ginagawa pa lang yung desisyon ay may nakakakita na. So there was a time when I advised the lawyers not to use the internet of the Office of the Ombudsman. Marami po kayong problema, but doon sa unfilled position, sinisiguro ko po sa inyo, Your Honor, na within the year, we'll be hiring additional lawyers for the Office of the Ombudsman. Marami pong salamat.
Justice, ilan po ngayon ang abogado ng Ombudsman?
Hindi ko po masyadong maano ang bilang, but nung araw po kasi may mga bureaus na kukunti po ang abogado, ayaw ng director mag-hire. But right now, according to this data given to me, there are about a total of 353 lawyers, all in all, from the central office to the sectoral offices. So, dadagdagan po namin ito ng another about 400 to 500 lawyers.
Ngayong taon pong ito.
Ngayong taon pong ito. And we're now starting to hire additional lawyers for the sectoral offices. Kasi hindi ko alam kung dapat kong sabihin ito. Iba-iba pa po kasi yung numero ng abogado ng bawat sektor. I mean, the Ombudsman for the Visayas has a different number of personnel sa Ombudsman ng Mindanao, sa Ombudsman ng Luzon, o sa Ombudsman ng Muleo. Ang nangyari po noon ay nagpalakasan sa Ombudsman. Pag malakas ka sa Ombudsman at sinabi mo, ma'am, mag-hire ako ng additional lawyer, at sinabing okay, mag-hire ka ng additional lawyer. Isa pang problema sa Office of the Ombudsman ay yung wala namang term yung opisyal, pero mayroon siyang coterminous na item. Dapat ang mayroon ng coterminous employee ay yung may mga term. The Ombudsman, the Overall Deputy Ombudsman, and the Deputy Ombudsman. Dito po, pati Director, mayroong coterminous employee. Kasi nung nakaraan po, palakasan nga. Isa ngayon, nagmukhang kontrabida ako sa Ombudsman, especially with the merger of two offices. Na ang sabi ko sa kanila, jokingly, whether you like it or don't, tutuloy ko yung merger. But I am serious. Those who will not abide by this, kung ayaw ninyo magtrabaho sa Office of the Ombudsman, they can all tender the resignations and transfer to other offices. I mean it because lagi kaming pinupuna, hindi lamang ng judiciary, but by the public, na ang bagal daw ng investigasyon ng kaso. So ngayon, bibilisan namin ang investigasyon ng kaso, pipilitin namin na ang kaso ay matapos ang investigasyon within a period of at least 2 years in accordance with the decision of the Supreme Court in one case. And incidentally, Your Honor, before I go further, yung pong kaso ni Parladi that was filed in 2022, which is 006, ay na-dismiss na po. Another case against Badoy, which was filed also in 2022, which is 008, is still ongoing investigation. The other cases pending against Parlade and other employees ng PCOO ay na-file po ito noong pang 2005. I will check on this and there's still ongoing investigation. That's why I'd like Your Honor to request the Honorable Congressman Manuel to give us a copy, a list of this. And before the end of the day, I will give you the status of these cases. Marami pong salamat.
Mr. Chair, let me just express my appreciation to all the pronouncements of our Honorable Ombudsman, most especially the combination of the fact-finding and the preliminary investigation into one office. Let me express also the appreciation of this representation to the attention he has accorded to the integrity of decisions and resolutions before they are released by the Office of the Ombudsman. Moving forward, Mr. Chair, it appears from the report that there are unused appropriations. For 2020, it's 615.1 million. For 2021, it's 518.3 million. And for 2022, it's 526.7 million. May we ask, what seemed to be the challenge of the Ombudsman on these unutilized amounts which could have been utilized in the other needs and concerns of our country, Mr. Chair?
Before the Ombudsman answers this, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize our Senior Deputy Speaker, Don Gonzales.
Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I understand that 2020 to 2022 pertains to the period of time where Ombudsman Martires is not yet in office. So may I just ask about the fiscal year 2023, whether the Ombudsman is on track in terms of utilization? Mr. Chair.
The Office of the Ombudsman on the unused appropriations, these are actually, they remain valid obligations until fully spent. The previous year's appropriations taken up as continuing appropriations are earmarked for other expenses, like prior year's obligation of wages increase for security and janitorial services. Aaminin ko po sa inyo ng tawag po sa akin ng COA, ako po ay isang waray-waray ng ugali Ilocano. So if you have noticed that two of our deputy ombudsman, one from the Visayas and one in Mindanao, are absent, because I told them, wag na silang pumunta, sayang yung pamasahe. Pambigay na nito ng bonus sa Pasko sa mga empleyado, pandagdag bonus. So, kung hindi po kami magtitipid, hindi po kami magkakaroon ng savings. And right now, I am trying to save more because of our plan to buy more hardware para sa aming IT, and which the software will be provided by a foreign country. Pero siyempre, yung hardware noon at sa pamasahin ng mga pupunta sa Pilipinas, isasagutin ng Office of the Ombudsman. Marami pong salamat.
That is well understood, Mr. Chair. But perhaps we can include in the 2024 budget of Ombudsman the needs of the office, as Ombudsman Martires already manifested before us. For the conviction rate, Mr. Chair, 2020, it is 61.2%. 2021, it is 42.7%. And 2022, it is 26.5%. With all due respect to our dear Ombudsman, although this represents the period where he is not yet appointed as such, can we explain that this decreasing rate of conviction of the Office of the Ombudsman?
Right now, Your Honors, mayroon kaming problema that Congress itself created for us. And this is the amended jurisdiction of the Sandigan Bayan. Doon po sa batas na yon, sa bagong jurisdiction ng Sandigan Bayan, there are cases na hindi na ipa-file sa Sandigan Bayan but will be filed with the lower courts. Ang nakasama pa roon sa batas na yon, sinasabi it should be filed in the adjacent judicial region where the accused, where the public officer is a resident. So if you are a resident of Naga City, that is Region 5, the case must either be filed before Region 4 or before Region 8. These are the adjacent regions to Region 5. Ang problema namin ngayon, pag final mo yung kaso sa executive judge ng Region 8, i-dismiss ng executive judge because there are no guidelines issued by the Supreme Court. Wala akong guidelines. So sa ngayon po, marami pong nakabinbin sa aming mga kaso, hindi namin alam saan ipa-file. Kami po ay at a loss. And that is why one of these days we will be recommending to Congress to amend this law. Ibalik na lang natin sa dating jurisdiction ng Sandigan Bayan ng filing ng cases. Instead of pretending to say that if the public officer is from Region 5, that the case be filed in the adjacent region. Pareho din naman ho ang resulta noon na i-file mo sa Region 5. Number 2, on the rate of conviction, this is one aspect of our work where we are rated, our performance is rated, also by the international community, and which is unfair to us, na ang aming performance is based on the conviction rate. Hindi po kami ang husgado. Iba po ang pananaw namin insofar as we're concerned, there is probable cause for the filing of the information. Pero ang husgado po ibang pananaw. Remember that no two, just as no two individuals are the same, even twins, wala hong abogado na pare-pareho ang pag-iisip. May mga abogado na